are listening to the Six Figure Photography Podcast with Ben Hartley and Noella Andre. Each week, a new episode will air to help you grow your business by winning more bookings, maximizing your profits, and breaking through your limiting beliefs. Today, we got Jeff Chang with us. Jeff is the co-founder of The Apartment, winner of the International Wedding Photographer of the Year Award, jealous, boasts 15 years of capturing love stories across 5 continents. When he's not finding new ways to create meaningful experiences for his clients, he's following another of his passions, engaging with y'all, engaging with this community, speaking at industry events, creating educational content over on Instagram. He's doing it all. Today, we got Jeff Chang. We're talking about social media. We're talking about editing secrets. We're talking client magic, a little bit of that tingly stuff. Ladies and gentlemen, Jeff Chang. Hi, Jeff.
Hey, Ben. Thanks for having me.
Noella, you introduced me to Jeff, and so walk me back a little bit. What's your and Jeff's relationship? How did you two connect?
How did we meet, Jeff?
I think we were waiting in line at Starbucks. Actually, really. Like in the morning, yeah, we were waiting in line for coffee. And then, I don't know, maybe you heard my Canadian accent and you turned around and you're like, "Are you Canadian?" I was like, "Yeah."
Oh, okay, yeah. Fun fact, Ben, we're both from Canada, I'm sure. But yeah, I think, and we met in person in WPPI last year for sure. And Jeff just is such a cool guy. I've now taken him as my own. Right? Yeah.
Jeff, Jeff, go ahead, please.
I want to, just before we start asking a lot of the business type questions, I want to ask you unpopular opinion about the photography industry. I love this question because everyone has
coming in hot right off the bat.
Yeah.
I don't know. I've heard a bunch of random ones, but I'm pretty mellow, I want to say, when it comes to I work with a lot of really chill clients. So I don't really end up with situations where people ask for things that are really out of left field. I don't know. I mean, the most recent one actually was I posted a video about shooting in manual and why that's a good thing and how that can help your workflow. And someone was like, if you're not shooting in manual, you're not a professional photographer. Or if you're not shooting in manual, you shouldn't be shooting weddings. And I thought that was a really bold statement. It was throwing a lot of shade. I felt like, there's people at different levels and you're going to have different workflows, and I can see why it might be useful. I have a friend who's been shooting weddings forever, and he shoots an aperture priority because his priority, if you will, is catching the moment. And he feels like if he's shooting in manual, he might miss the moment because he's fiddling around with dials. Then you got the other side of the scale going, well, if you know what you're doing, then you're going to have it all prepped and ready to go. And the reality is you can't anticipate every moment. You can't. We're not superhuman. We're pretty damn good, but we're not superhuman. And so I don't know. There just wasn't a lot of grace in that comment. And so I was like, whoa. Let's chill out.
Yeah. That's a good answer, Jeff. I like that answer.
Yeah, that was really good. There you go. That was my little icebreaker.
Jeez, the pressure. My God, can't handle it.
I like that. So were we accurate when I was doing a little research on you, poking around on the Instagram and the website, and just the content that you talk about, is that pretty accurate to be talking about social media, editing, client experience? Is there any other pillar of yours that you're actually, this is what I'm really into right now?
Yeah, I'm also into collecting airline points. You know what I mean? The only reason why I would ever want to, I said that with so much emphasis that I'm now worried. The only reason why I would ever want to be an American citizen is so that I could partake in getting a Chase Sapphire card. I can't get that as a Canadian. And the points you can get from it are so much better than what we can get in Canada. The US American Express, oof, creme de la creme.
Jeff, I have one.
No, I know.
have an American Express Platinum.
But the points you can get with a US American Express Platinum is so much better. The welcome bonuses are higher. It's like 150,000, points. And like, we're just like, oh, 55. Oh, like, it's just so sad.
So
now I know what I'm missing out.
Is this like I've got a couple of friends that get really into like super niche, like each niche almost has its own culture around it. And that culture tends to be surrounded around like a Reddit community, like is what I've discovered. So are you like, is this like its own, like, are you on the Reddit forums learning about like how to maximize, like, is that a whole thing for you?
No,
Are we not there yet? We haven't ascended to that yet.
I haven't started a subscriber group specifically for collecting airline points, but I feel like I'm borderline. Like it takes up more time than it should in my day.
Yeah. I totally get that.
I mean, here's the thing. Like once you lay flat while traveling once, it's really, really hard to go back. And that's like the bougiest thing I will say. But you know what I mean? Like
I've never laid flat while flying.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, don't, because it will wreck you forever. And then from then on, you'll be like, every time you're on a regular flight and you're upright. Oh, just threw up in my mouth a little bit. I'm kidding. Okay. Like once you fly regular again, you're like, oh man, like if only I had more points, then I could have traveled horizontal.
Yeah.
And, you know what I mean? Like, yeah, I feel like as the years go on in photography, right? We started with horizontal photos, and then we're switching to more portrait. But when we fly and we get older, we want to go from portrait to landscape. Like
that is a stretch to connect this conversation to photography. Yeah. That is a stretch.
If you know photography, then you'll get that joke, and if not, then maybe it was just a bad joke.
I want to talk Instagram.
Let's do it.
You're pretty active over there, eh?
Yeah, I try to be.
Yeah. Is that where you get, I don't want to say majority of your clients, but is there a pretty big client base that you're finding, or that is finding you rather, on Instagram?
Yeah, I would say probably half of all the inquiries that come in, because we ask that question, how did you find us?
Yeah.
And I would say about half say on Instagram. They're never really specific about it. They won't say like, oh yeah, like you're on my For You page, or a friend recommended you or whatever, but they'll just say Instagram. So we figure, well, we've got to be doing something right there.
Yeah, for sure. I think we're going to get into more details of this, but I guess I want to start with just that idea in itself, because I work with a lot of photographers, and I'm catching this wind of this idea that, well, Instagram no longer brings in leads. Like Instagram no longer brings in clients. And I'm curious if you've heard that kind of a sentiment, and if so, where do you think it is coming from?
I could see that. I mean, it's super saturated, and it's really hard to stand out. And something that I always think about when I'm posting online is whether or not I'm giving or I'm taking. Yeah. And it's this super simple idea, but when you think about it, as photographers, like our portfolio is our photographs. We want to share it. That's what we do. But in a lot of ways, every time you post a photo on Instagram, you're not giving. Like, we're not like, oh, please let me grace your eyeballs with my beauty and my art, right? Like, that's very presumptuous. Really, we're putting it out there, and we're saying, hey, look at my stuff, like it, comment, share it with a friend, like do me a favor and spread the word about how talented I am. That's really what you're saying. And I think it's getting old that it's like, yes, we want to support our friends. Yes, we want to support other artists, and we do. But, Instagram's been around for, I don't know, whatever, 15 years, 10 years, I don't know. But long enough that there's nothing new about seeing a couple standing in a forest, and there's less and less reason for you to be encouraged to click, like or send or comment, right? So I think that interaction has really taken a dive. And so now it's like, okay, well, what can we do on Instagram to give to the community, to add to the community that might actually stand out? And that's actually been my philosophy for the last year and a half. While I've been trying to grow my Instagram.
Yeah. So then what does it look like? Like, 'cause I think, I think if for listeners, they're probably shocked at the idea of like, no, I'm sharing images of people that look like of amazing work that should make their feed prettier and they should feel enjoyed. Like, I think to many photographers, they would believe that that is giving, and you're suggesting it feels taking. So then what would be giving?
Yeah. Well, just to like drive that point home, let's not be wedding photographers for a second, and let's be a pots and pan company.
Ooh.
All right.
I love pots and pans, actually. This is exciting.
Right? Okay, yeah. So like we're a pots and pan company and we have a brand new Instagram account. What do you post? You're like, well, we got to tell everyone about how beautiful our pots and pans are. And they come in different colors and they have triple layer, aluminum or whatever. Aluminum is probably not a good lead to be used in the pan. Lead, yeah. We've got a lead core in our special pan, right? And so what we're going to do is we're going to post a bunch of pictures of our frying pans. And like, do you think as a consumer on Instagram, you're going to be like, oh, yes, frying pan content. Yes, I love that photo of that pan. So beautiful, right? Like, no. So then why do you think that just because you post a picture of a couple standing in a forest, people are going to have the exact same reaction? They're going to be like, yes, I love those trees. The way you put that couple between the trees and the dichotomy between the, you know what I mean? Like it's a little silly, right? And so if I was a frying pan company and I wanted to grow on Instagram, I'd maybe consider posting recipes. I would consider posting like ways to clean gross pans that have like stuck on buildup over time. I would maybe show cool organizational, ways to like, everyone's got stacks of frying pans and maybe there's like a cool little way of putting them together or, what you get my idea, right?
Yeah.
And so it's like providing, it's not just tips and tricks. It's like give, like what can you give to the frying pan? Solutions. What can you give to the frying pan community? Right? Rather than just boasting about how your lead core frying pan won't cause cancer, right? Because it will.
I've got a question on this because I think that I hear this second complaint quite often because we get a galley of 3 photography educators. A galley? Is that a thing?
You mean like a gaggle?
A gaggle, that's what it is. A gaggle. A murder. A flock. You get a flock of photography educators and talking about social media, and they'll talk a lot about giving, right? And creating helpful educational solutions to their audience. And I think that the complaint that I might hear or the pushback that I may hear from photographers is like, well, that's easy for you because you're providing content for other photographers, right? Educational content for photographers. But what does the family photographer do? I'd love to hear your thoughts on that. Is like, as a family photographer, what are some ideas of educational content for them? And we could take any niche of photography, but I figured we'd hop over to portraits for a little bit. You were so good with the pots and pans bit. I'm curious, like what kind of content could they do? Because I do believe, Jeff, that you are dead right. And it is the same. And photographers will say to themselves, yeah, but, and then they won't do it. So I want to crush that excuse.
Look, I don't disagree. I mean, like I do educate. I do create educational content. And that is a part of, like you said, a pillar of what I do. And that's not every photographer. I'm sure 95, that's a stat I've pulled out of my ass, but like 95% of photographers are not interested in being educators. They just want to take photos. Yeah. Right. Or make photos. That's actually a fun little lost in translation thing. Do you say take photos in the States? Yeah.
I would say, can I take your picture? Generally, that's generally what people would say. Yeah.
Right. And that's like totally normal for us to say. I was in Europe a few months ago and a Polish girl that I was talking to said, make photos. And we had this discussion about like, oh, if you say something in English that's like not quite right, do you want me to tell you? Like, or are you like very satisfied with your level of English? And she was like, no. Like I want to know. Sorry, she wasn't Polish. She's German. And she's like, yeah, tell me. And so she said, make photos. And then I said to her, oh, actually, like in Canada and the States, I think, we actually say take photos. It's kind of the more common phrase. We take photos. And then she explained why she says make photos. And it's from that artistic standpoint of like to create. I create a photograph. I make a photograph. And you're like, oh, and I actually really liked it. That was a total tangent.
You just adopted it now. Yeah.
I don't know if I have. I don't know if I own it, but I will. I do like to use it sometimes. Okay, sorry. Photographers, 95% of photographers don't want to make educational content. That's totally fine.
For other
totally
photographers, right?
Yeah, for other photographers,
Correct.
right? But I think they can still be giving to their client base, right? So it's just like the pots and pan company. They're not saying, hey, this is our manufacturing, this is the best way we deliver our frying pans, like the logistics of it, because we're creating educational content for other frying pan companies, like they're not. The recipes is not for other frying pan companies. It's still educational, but it's actually for people who eventually would like to buy a frying pan. Their customer base, right? Yeah. And so I think for family photographers, it's the same. They're not saying, hey, this is the equipment I use, or this is the logistics I use to run my business to be a successful family photographer. If you want to direct it directly to your client base, I think behind the scenes is killing right now. Like people don't know what it's like to be in a session with you. So if you can illustrate that, if you can give them some sense of what it's like to work with you, I think that's going to go miles to having people go, yeah, I basically feel like I know this person. I feel comfortable. I've seen them direct other families. They seem super friendly and outgoing. They look like they'd get along with my kids really well. I think that's the direction you go. Yeah. That would be mine.
And I think it's funny because I think we started as educators, we started calling ourselves educators, but I think photographers, like family photographers, are educators too. The audience is just a little different. And I think that gets lost in translation, right? A photographer can still take time to educate moms, dads, brides, grooms.
Yes.
Just the audience is different, right?
I've seen, there's a photographer here in Vancouver who started posting content from other photographers, or not even other photographers. She would say like, hey, are you stuck on what to wear for your engagement session? And she posted really cute, stylish outfit ideas from like different websites, even including like the link of like where you can buy them and stuff. Like she's not an affiliate or anything, but she's super, I don't know if fashionista is a term anyone uses, but like she's a very stylish girl. And she's posting suggestions, and her followers connect and resonate with that. And they're like, oh, I love that. I love that she's giving me tips. Love that she's giving me ideas. And that's serving in so many ways, right? It's serving them because they no longer feel like they're lost in like, what do I wear for my engagement session or my portrait session? So that's taken care of. You're also putting out into the world, this is what I'm looking for, right? This is the vibe I want and I want to attract. And it's just like, it's different content, right? You're expecting a photographer to just be like, hey, just got back from a beautiful sunset session. Here's my photographs. Tell me I did a good job. Right. Yeah. And it's much more giving.
Yeah. There's I think that a lot of photographers, we forget that we're like local small businesses. We're just local small businesses. That's all we are. I mean, for the most part, I know, we make it to that point where we're a destination, we're traveling all over, but 95% of photographers, pulled that one out of my ass as well, are just local small business owners. And I think if we could just tap into the local, like small business community and figure out how we can serve there. There's an example within my own area. I've got 3 young kids. I got twin boys, they're 7, 10-year-old daughter. And I never know what to do. What do I do? And so I follow a group on Facebook that is like the Fish Hawk Family Fun. It just like gives you ideas of like what to do with your kids. And I've just realized that there's a small business that actually runs and owns that. Then it is like,
oh my God, that's incredible.
I love it. It's a huge value to me. And I think if photographers were to kind of tap into that mentality, I think they'd crush.
I think it's just a matter of realizing that Instagram is not a platform for you to be advertising. Like as soon as you use Instagram entirely as an advertisement tool, I think you lose touch with people, because people go on Instagram not to watch ads. And so, and I get it. I get that your photograph that's gorgeous, that's beautiful, you're standing on top of a mountain, whatever. I get that you don't really mean it to be an ad, and it doesn't say book me now, but that's kind of what you're saying, right? You're saying, look, I'm incredible, book me now. And so, and people are becoming incredibly sensitive to ads, right? Like so much so that all these different platforms have to be super strict about what is an ad, because people are being tricked, right, all the time. And so they have to have, like, you know, in partnership with, or, you know, this is an ad. That's really important. That transparency is important. But, you know, I don't know about you, but when you're scrolling on TikTok or Instagram and you hit an ad, it takes me 1.5 seconds to realize it's an ad before I swipe. Like it's that quick. Right. So I think that we just have to be more conscious about what we're putting out there and whether or not it's an ad or not.
Yeah.
So Jeff, what type of post then would you say brings you like the most clients or the most engagement or the most comments, like that kind of stuff?
I think it's when I think carousels are doing really well, and it's not just for the you know how you post one, it gets a second chance, it gets a second life, right? Because it'll always show the second photo as well. But the ones that for me get the most engagement are when I do a carousel, like almost like a collage, and where the theme, I guess, or the vibe is to be showcasing kind of the feeling that it was like at that particular event, because people really like to kind of, it's almost like a lookbook, right? Or like a Pinterest, what do you call it? A Pinterest board?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Board.
Like yeah. What do you call that when you you give someone like a Pinterest
like
board?
a mood board?
A mood board. Yeah, thank you. Thank you. So like mood boards do really well. And I think it's because it's interesting. There's lots of different photos. People can kind of imagine what their event might look like, or draw inspiration. Like it's inspirational, I suppose. So I think those do really well by far. Like my average is, you know, everyone's averages are different, but once you kind of get a feel for it, you can really judge. I don't know if you guys feel the same way, but I would say I could do any post and it would get around, say, 300 to 500 likes. And like that's kind of just an average. But if I do a carousel and it has lots of pictures, it's like 2,500 or like 3,000. So you can just tell there's way more engagement when you do that. So I learn from the analytics as much as I can.
Yeah. I'm curious to hear from you. You've got two types of followers, you know, so you've got your potential clients, you got the leads, maybe even three. You've got potential clients, you actually have real, you know, like your current clients. We'll put them into one category. But then you also have like photographers that are looking up to you. Is there a way that you're balancing that?
I'm actually only 5'5", so almost none of them, 95% actually look down at me.
So how do you balance that content? You know, have you ever considered, I know a lot of photographers are considering, do I have two different profiles? Do I have one profile for my photography work and another for the education? How do you balance it?
Yeah. Oh God, this is a constant struggle for me. I'll come right out and say, I am both lazy and fearful to start a new account, but that is probably the right thing to do. You know, you're like, oh, I've already built something here. I don't want to start from scratch. It's really hard, but I think the benefit of starting from scratch is I can be more my educator self if I had a platform specifically for it. I think I'm definitely walking a very thin line right now between Jeff, the photographer artist, and Jeff, the photographer educator. I am the same person, like my personality is the same, but it's very different, right? It's like the front of house is the polished Le Creuset pan store, right? And it's very like, oh, how may I help you? What crock pot can I interest you in? And in the back, it's just like, cardboard boxes and like a whole hustle going on. And I'm showing people that, right? But the fine line is, well, are you alienating your Le Creuset customer base by showing them the trash hole in the back full of boxes and people running around packing boxes and that sort of stuff, right? So that's the fine line I'm walking, and the scary but probably right answer is to separate it. But to answer your question right now, my feed is entirely posts about weddings. It's just client facing. So that's kind of one piece. And my reels are entirely educational. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that's kind of how I've separated it. I would say the algorithm is pretty good about figuring out who should see what. Yeah. Like it's fairly good. And when I post a reel that is a taking, if you will, so I'm posting like some cool music with perfectly timed photos, and it's all just like pretty photos from a wedding. It does not do as well. Like maybe it does 5%, 10% of the views that my educational stuff does, but it's still valuable. Like I don't go, oh, that means it failed or didn't do good, because the 5 or 10,000 people that did see it are probably the people that need to see it to kind of be reminded, oh yeah, that's the kind of work that the apartment does or that they're known for. So I'm okay with that. Although it does kind of hurt me on the inside a little bit when you compare it to the numbers on other things. But to
be honest, Jeff, I've never actually seen your photography work. Like it's so accurate. I always only see your educational reels.
Oh, really? Okay.
It's like the algorithm knows that. That's what I want to see.
You're like, I've never seen your work, and I don't.
I mean, okay. I didn't need to full stop after I said that, but the algorithm totally knows that I'm into your educational content, because that's all that ever shows up for me.
And to be fair, where was I? Oh yeah, I was with some wedding planners yesterday. It was like a wedding planner dinner sort of thing. And a few of them actually mentioned that they really like watching my BTS like educational work. And I was like, really? Why? Like what do you get out of it? And they're like, oh, they know me personally. So it's kind of fun for them to kind of be like, oh, what's Jeff up to? So I think it's more of a support thing, but it is cute that they watch them.
That's awesome. So I'm going to ask you a question, and I know the answer that I want from you, but I want to hear it from you.
Oh, no pressure.
You're going to know right away. If Instagram disappeared tomorrow, what is the first thing you're going to do tomorrow?
Noella, email marketing. Here we go. Buckle up, people. Yeah, if Instagram disappears tomorrow, the world will end. It's fine. It's fine. The world's over. No, right? Like we're done. It's fine. I'm going to go to a little island off the coast of Vancouver, and I'm going to hide, and I'm going to,
that's it. I'm done.
That's it. I'm done. But no, that's a very good question. I started an email list like a year ago. I was like, oh yeah, that's what you're supposed to do. Start an email list. And people signed up. I've had 0 unsubscribes to my email list because
how many emails have you sent, Jeff?
Like one email.
How many emails?
I'm like my stats are impeccable.
Perfect.
But so I don't want to inundate my subscribers with needless, pointless emails. So I'm bad with this. I'm a terrible person to ask for this question. If you want to point out why I should have a better system, please do. I would love to learn from you. Noella?
We're like, Ben?
You can't ask the question. Totally burn me on air and then not give the answer.
I'm only burning you on air because I burnt you on Instagram last night about this thing. Yeah. So Jeff put out a PDF, a ManyChat automation that was like, comment the word and you get my free PDF.
Yeah.
he sent the link to the PDF over in a DM. Like he personally sent a direct link to the PDF.
No, hold on.
First of all, the mini chat didn't work. But second of all, it was a PDF that he sent.
Hold on.
Oh my word,
guys. Hold on. Okay. First of all, I need some serious help when it comes to mini chat because I thought I had it down. I tested it. Okay. I ran a test and it worked flawlessly. You comment the word, it sends you an automated DM. You have to say yes. And then it asks for your email. You write your email down. It goes great. And then it gives you a link to the PDF. Done. And it records your email address and it saves it as a
so ManyChat was just broken.
Or a CSV.
We're blaming it on ManyChat. Yeah.
Okay, but here's the thing. For whatever reason, and I don't understand this, if someone knows, please give me the answer. It worked for maybe 10% of people. For whatever reason, 10% of people, they clicked on it and they went, yep, no problem. It worked for me when I used like my personal account. It worked for Kat when she used her personal account. But multiple people... Whoa, we lost Noella.
It's all right. You still got me. It's all that matters.
Okay.
She'll be back, I'm sure.
I don't know what happened there.
Here we go. So for 90% of people, they would enter their email. It would give them the link. And when they clicked on the link, it would take them to my website, but to like a 404 page. Huh. And I'm like, that's weird. And I looked at the link and it's the link that I put in, theapartmentphotography.com/shortcuts. And then it added like a whole bunch of gibberish to the end of it, which I'm assuming is some ManyChat, blah, 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 back-end stuff. But for whatever reason, it wasn't working. So I had so many people asking me, it's not working. So then I started like physically sending people like an individual DM with the link until I did it for an hour, and I did it to like 200 people. And I'm like, I can't do this anymore. And I shut the whole reel off. I was just like, off, archive, turn off. I don't have time for this. So until I can get it fixed, I will gladly bring back this free PDF. I'm trying to give it to people, but I got to solve my ManyChat issues.
Wish I could help you. I've got a helper that does all my ManyChat stuff. I don't know. I use it. I don't set up the automations, which was one of my questions. Yeah. Like, are you doing all the things and all the stuff?
I think I'm doing some of the things and some of the stuff.
Yeah.
I've done that one. I've done the email automation that one time, which burnt to the ground. That didn't work.
Real quick, just to put some clarity to this. I mean, like, are you the one who is making all the content and then sending all the well, you're not sending emails, but making the ManyChat, like, are you the one doing all the things and all this stuff? That's what I mean when I say that.
Oh, yes. I'm a total one-man show over here.
Yeah. How's that going for you?
Oh, it's so good, man.
I was just checking in. Great. I don't know. I just checking in is all.
Yeah, no, I'm a little, I'll be honest, it's going good. It's going great. I'm keeping up with my wedding edits, which is great. I'm keeping up with client meetings and anything that generally has to do with my business. What I'm not keeping up with is posts on Instagram. So like having the time and the capacity to create proper posts and carousels. Like I used to be a one a day. Then I would turn into I'll do it 2 a week sort of thing. And I've probably gone maybe 2 or 3 weeks since I've done a post, which is really uncharacteristic for me. And I think it's because I'm losing the capacity to spend this much time on Instagram stuff.
Yeah.
I really actually like the video editing part of it, like the putting together the reels.
Yeah.
I actually find it really fun.
Me too.
And it's, like I've seen your stuff, Ben. It's so fun. Like I tried to do the, I like to think I'm a pretty outgoing, funny guy, but like I did a couple of them and I was like shaking my head. I'm like, oh God, I'm just making a fool of myself. And I don't really know if it's landing at all or people understand my humor. I don't know.
Yeah.
So I was like, I just stick to the educational stuff, Jeff, stay in your lane.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Let the people who know what they're doing do the funny stuff. I'm like, okay.
So I'm hearing you say that, it was kind of out of curiosity, just going off on a tangent from the ManyChat stuff, just like that. It's getting to be a lot to kind of manage all the things.
I would say to add to that, like, I've had like my year was pretty simple, right? You run your business, which as we all know is a lot of things, right? You've got whatever, accounting, your website, your social media, you got your equipment and gear, you got your client meetings, you got schedules, blah, 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 blah. We know all that. But once I kind of got into the educational world, if anyone's thinking about doing it, I think the aspects I didn't realize were going to take up a lot of time. Instagram and creating the content, that of course takes up the majority of my time. But then I think Noella can speak to this, like the brand partnerships and ambassadors and speaking like at conferences and that kind of stuff. Like I had 3 Zoom meetings. I had like a London, a Germany, and a Philippines Zoom call in the last 3 days. And I'm like, that's it's great. Like I'm so grateful for it, but it eats up a ton of time, right? So
very personal.
Yeah. And it's like you're trying to build a personal brand, or you're trying to build your educational platform. You have to get yourself out there in so many different ways and aspects. And I don't think I've really understood just how much time that was going to take.
Go ahead, please. Is there other parts of your business that you feel don't require so much of you that you would suggest maybe thinking about delegating?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like it's one of those things that you think of, oh yeah, I would love to delegate this, but I don't have time to delegate. Like that's the, right. And maybe that's just an excuse. Like of course I can find time to get a company on board that would help me with my like workflow stuff, especially from like client intake and initial emails. I would love if someone would be able to take that over, because you want to respond to people as soon as you can. So it's very kind of haphazard ADHD, like I'm doing one thing and I see an email come in and you're like, I got to respond to the email. Right. But if someone else was on that, that would be chef's kiss.
Have you ever heard of the Eisenhower matrix?
No, what is that?
Yeah, you got to look into this. Now this is turning into a coaching call for Jeff. We're just like, all right, Jeff, let's get some systems in place. Didn't see that one coming, did you?
Didn't see that one coming. No, I didn't.
So I want you to take a look at the Eisenhower matrix. It's everyone who's listening. This is really powerful. But to Jeff, to your point, it's the things that are they are not urgent and they are important that we put off. And those are the things that will actually move the needle in your business. If you're trying to scale your business and you're trying to enjoy your life, and you're trying to make more money, and you're trying to serve more people and love more people, you've got to do the things that are not urgent but very important. And those are the things that we never get around to doing, do we? And one of those things is to figure out what needs to get delegated. And because we tend to run around with our heads cut off, chicken with our heads cut off, where we're doing all the things that are urgent but not important. And that's usually in our inbox. It's usually on Instagram. It's usually a lot of time suck stuff. But everything just feels urgent, especially, I don't know if it's a creative thing, ADD thing, I don't know, but like everything feels so urgent. Everything just feels like I got to get the thing and the stuff, and I have to do everything, what everybody is asking me. And I never get around to doing the stuff that is absolutely not urgent, but it's actually going to make a difference. But there's a really neat matrix. It's hard to kind of show it or discuss it. It's a visual thing, but I just encourage people to do a little Google on the Eisenhower matrix. And here's my encouragement. Schedule a meeting with yourself this week for 1 hour and actually put it on the calendar. Schedule a meeting with yourself to figure out your shit. To figure out your life, just for at least to begin to looking at the Eisenhower matrix. All right. Because it's going to tell you these are the things that you need to delete out of your life. These are the things that you need to delegate. And these are the things that you need to schedule. And so actually put it on the calendar. But I'd really encourage the listeners to do that. It'll really help to get you clear on what you're up to and where you're heading.
I'm going to add one thing to that, Ben, because I did run a marketing agency, right, where I often was taking over a lot of tasks for photographers. As soon as you figure out the things that you want to delegate, record your screen. Like just do a loom, because what you're saying, Jeff, is true. Most people feel like they don't have the time to delegate. but just recording your screen as you're doing those tasks is going to make things 100 times easier to get off your plate for sure.
Have you ever seen a screen recording? I think they did this on SNL. It was like pretending it was a POV of someone on TikTok. It's like, it's if you ever want to see ADD in action, it's like a screen recording of someone watching TikTok. It's like next, watch 10 seconds, next. Like it's so frantic, and it's especially frantic when you don't have control and this is someone else's view, and you're like, oh my God, do I do this?
Yeah,
I probably do.
Oh my gosh, I had to just delete everything off my phone. I like, in terms of, on the topic of the Eisenhower matrix, I had to delete part of my getting my life back was deleting TikTok and Instagram from my phone. I just couldn't do it. It was just like, it was too much of a time suck. I'm on this note of all of the things and all of the stuff, like, has TikTok found its way into your heart yet in terms of content creation?
No.
Yeah. Okay.
It is not. And let's talk about, oh man, I mean, this is like workflows. I especially pride myself on editing workflows.
Yeah.
But this aspect, because I'm really quite new to this, right? I mean, like a year and a half into creating content, not new to photography or in educating, but in this format. And of course, the obvious questions are like, okay, are you on YouTube? Are you on TikTok? And are you on Instagram? And those are the three. And all three of them have the platform to share vertical content, right? You've got shorts on YouTube. And and a buddy of mine who is like a really successful YouTuber is like, why aren't you just, every time you post on Instagram, why don't you just post on YouTube? Like, it's not hard to do. And I'm like, man, I've got a list a mile long of silly excuses of why I haven't started doing that. Yeah. And none of them are valid, unfortunately. Yeah. And yet it still hasn't happened yet. So it's like it's a mental block, to be honest. It's like a virtual mountain to climb. And the idea of climbing it seems untangible, even though I did it on Instagram already. Like a year and a half ago, I had less than a tenth. I had like 8% of the number of followers I have today. And I was like, I don't know where this is going. I think it's because I was not naive, but I didn't have any expectations, right? And this is actually a really interesting thought I had just a couple days ago. I was thinking about the iPhone, and I was like, why is the iPhone so boring? Like when the phone first came out, every year the new iPhone came out, I was like watching the video, Steve Jobs would be like, oh, now it can do this. And you're like, oh my God, that's the coolest thing I've ever seen. That's so cool, right? And now it's like every iteration's like, it's faster, the battery lasts longer. And you're like, okay, is anything wrong with your current phone? Like, no. Like, okay, like who buys the new iPhone because they're excited about it? They're buying it because they need to replace their 2-year-old phone or their 3-year-old phone or whatever, right? And in the same way, I kind of hit this plateau. I recently hit this plateau on Instagram in terms of my content, because what I realized I was doing was I was recycling and redoing the works that the reels that were doing really well. And I wasn't taking risks anymore. And when I first started making content on Instagram, I was taking risks every single week because I didn't know what was going to stick. So I would do a funny meme, or I would do a Lightroom tutorial POV, or I would shoot some behind the scenes on a wedding day and just see what did well. And from the analytics, I learned kind of what people resonated with and what they actually gravitated towards. And slowly over time, I started only making the stuff I knew was going to do well. And that's where you lose innovation, because you're suddenly stuck in this, like, I don't want to disappoint the people who already follow me. Yeah. And so I'll just make the same content, but they're getting bored of it, and I'm not getting any new followers because I'm not being innovative. And that's kind of what's happening with the iPhone. It's like, there's no reason to stick around with iPhone. If you see another company make something else cool, you might just jump and go and do that, right? Do that next. Yeah. And so in the same way, and so that's kind of, I'm trying to get myself out of that rut of like, okay, let's be innovative. I made a brand new reel yesterday, actually, where I did the green screen cutout and talked at the same time. And I don't normally do like face on videos, and I'm not very good at it. So I'm trying it out. And yeah, that's very new for me, but I'm going to pepper it in from now on because I think it challenges me to create content in a different way, and it's engaging in a different way. And then to the point of like YouTube, it's like same thing. Because I've now created this like expectation of like, oh, you've reached, X number of followers, and now your reels do like, quite well. If I start on YouTube, it's gonna be like, oh, 200 views, like yay, and that's gonna like hurt my ego in some way, right?
But also, Jeff, the interesting thing though is if you were to start taking that content and throw it on YouTube, you're going to not feel so. Not confused isn't the right word, but you can start doing educational content on that platform without mixing in the wedding stuff. So it might solve that problem of feeling a little confused, right, with your Instagram following.
That's true. I mean, that's the hope. I actually really, really want to create like a YouTube channel. I think I'm getting bogged down by the like, you'll never make it, and there's no point, and there's so much better content out there, and why would anyone want to follow me? Like all that, the negative self-talk that is not super beneficial.
A good task to delegate though, because then it takes you right in your personal feelings out of the picture, and just you can delegate the repurposing of it.
Do I just send it to noella@gmail.com and you'll post it? Is that how that works?
I know. I got to
That's great.
quiet.
I really appreciate it.
She's the best. I think one of the keys to your success that you pegged and you kind of breezed past it. You said that you had no expectations. I'm going to suggest that you didn't have no expectations, but you kept your expectations low, and you kept your standards high. And I think too many photographers are the opposite. I think too many photographers have high expectations and low standards. Meaning we expect that we're going to get a ton of results, and we're going to be just like Jeff Chang, next month, and we're going to be just like Ben. We're going to have a podcast, whatever it is, right? We've got really high expectations, and then our standard is, well, if we only get 3 likes and 2 listeners or whatever, I don't know, maybe I'll stop posting tomorrow. Maybe I'll take a week off, and so we drop out. We take ourselves out of the race. And I think the thing that was your success is, I've just met you, but you look like you've got some pretty high standards for yourself. And I love that. So you've got high standards and you've got low expectations. You're going to show up and you're going to do the work day after day after day. Whether you've got 10 followers or you've got 500 or 15 million, you're going to do the thing. And I would encourage you that you'd have to maintain, and if you're able to, you have to maintain that mindset while going over to YouTube. You'd have to maintain that. You have to like reset, be like, okay, expectations low, standards high. I'm going to show up. I'm going to do the thing. No matter what, and knowing, and here's the cool thing, man, you've got a track record. It's like knowing that I'm going to put in the year, right? I'm going to give myself that time, and then I can make the decision, of whether or not I'm going to stick it through. So
no, totally. I mean, I encourage anyone to. You're totally right you hit the nail on the head in that it's really easy to be discouraged. Really, right off the bat. Yeah. And I did not. It's not like I found instant success. And the number of times I've said, oh, there's no point because look at this other person who has instant success. And I think the majority of people who make it or who do well on any platform, whatever it is, there are going to be the stories of people who went from 0 to 100 and are, crazy successful from the eyes of whatever, like a follower count or likes or whatever. But 95% of other people, they're just doing it every single day, or they're doing it every single week, and they're slowly building an audience over time. And it's just like consistency and showing up. And like when I made my first reel, and that was like Everest. I was like, I spent so much time tweaking it and making it perfect and blah, 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 blah. And eventually I told myself, like, look, it's not going to be perfect. But I know me, and I know the quality of work I'm going to do. So it's probably already, 90%, 95%. And you're going to want to give yourself space to learn and grow. Like if your first reel is perfect, then like, well, great. Like that's incredible. You're just going to create perfect things all the time. It's like, no, of course not. You're going to learn and you're going to make mistakes. Right. And I posted one reel, I posted another, I looked at the analytics, I got a lot of feedback, and I just kept going. And before I knew it, I have a little folder in my desktop that I put all my reels in that I edit. Before I knew it, I had like 25 reels. I'm like, whoa, I've made 25 reels. Like, that's incredible. Like, okay, keep going. And I think the last one I did yesterday was 151. And that seems like, tell Jeff of a year and a half ago, like, you're going to make 150 reels. I would have been like, no way, that's going to take forever. Don't bother. Right. But it's just like chipping away at a marble statue. You just gotta like, you can't, you're not gonna create David in a day. Right. But if you spend an hour a day chipping away, like, his crotch will show up eventually. You'll get to the part you want to see. Right. That's fine.
Jeff, this is awesome. What I've really enjoyed talking about with you, Jeff, is I love that you are equal parts. Well, this is so my take on an expert is someone who has never arrived, right? There's someone, because as soon as it's like they never stop learning. An expert by nature is an ever-present learner, and as soon as you say like I've got it all figured out, like you kind of almost disqualify yourself from that title. And what I've enjoyed in talking with you is you exude expertism in that you are humbly continuing the journey of being an ever-present learner. It's like, yes, you're pushing into these areas that you found success in and you're not quitting there. And there's still so much to learn. And it's awesome. It's really attractive. It's great to talk to someone who can, I guess, like, walk that with that tension, like to live out that tension and then not feel like, they've got to be one thing or the other. It's like you're just living out that tension. It's really awesome. So, Jeff, thanks for being here.
Oh, it's been my pleasure.
Thank you.
Where can we send people to?
Yeah. My YouTube channel is.
You can also find him on TikTok.
You can also find me on TikTok. You can be my third or fourth subscriber on TikTok.
Well, and you can also join his email list at.
Yeah, exactly. Jesus, where do you find these guests? They totally got their shit together. As Noella pointed out, you can find me on the app that will be destroyed in the apocalypse, Instagram, at the apartment photo. And that's about it. Yeah.
I love
it. That's the best place to reach me. I do try to read all my DMs. So if you have any questions, like, feel free. But I always encourage people, if they have questions, to leave them as a comment in a reel or a post, because that way other people can benefit from your question and we can share the answer with everybody.
Awesome. Thank you.
You guys are awesome. I'm so happy to have been one of your first guests.
Yeah, season 3, first guest. Let's go. Not one of the first guests. You're like the first guest.
Incredible. I feel great.
Noella, do you want to sign us out?
Thank you so much, Jeff. We absolutely adore you and I love having you here today. And I hope that everybody just takes a lot of value out of this episode. And if you want to learn more, head over to Jeff Chang on Instagram at The Apartment.
Hey, until next week.
That's all I'm going to say.
Thanks, everyone.
Keep showing up, y'all. Be kind to yourselves.